Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're all healthy and fit and don't have a problem with with the winter that's coming now to hit the northern hemisphere. And yeah, if you're from South America, Australia, then maybe summer is already there and you're having a good time. And hope all your families are good. And yeah, we've got some news for you on Generals Online. The first thing is you may notice that the server issue is fixed. So for the past weeks, especially, the issue was that on a high demand, let's say more than 300 players, 400 players, 350 players, or something like this, the server crashed. Like the database got down, and the server, well, you cannot log in anymore, and the server is not answering and everything. And yeah, this was for about a few days a big problem. Like you can see it here, it started on at the beginning of November, and it kept on going like for a week, and we had to restart it all the time, and it was very annoying for everybody, I think. But as you can see here, server was always fine with lower demand on players, and when it raised higher and higher, you can see like here from the November the 6th up to November 11th, like the beginning of this now passing week, there was an issue and we always had to restart the server, and it was very, very frustrating, not only for us, also for players. But you can already see here on this line, like the last day is 100%, 100%, 100%. This issue is fixed. The server is not crashing anymore because of this. And yeah, we are happy that we can now deliver a multiplayer service where you all can play on without having the server crashing. Yeah. Here, like player stats, you can even see it in the red. It was 94% only. This was made. I think this was the day that we fixed it. We restarted the server several times to deploy fixes, so this day was not really cool for playing. Um, the 2 days before also it crashed a lot, and we restarted a lot, but it's fixed. Okay, so this is the first good news when we're talking about Generals Online. The second good news is that the player count right now it's 361, and we are soon reaching 18,000 registered accounts. This is insane. With the server fix, the player count starts to grow again. We can see on statistics like it increased and increased and increased. Then we had a lot of players, and then you can see it decreasing because of all the issues. And I showed you like November 6th it started, and then we deployed some fixes, and November 11th we saw it's fixed, and since then we go up again. So yeah, we are happy that we can play with all of you again without these issues. Um, the development progress makes it important that we still do restarts here and there to update the service, because we still see potential for the database and the server to make it even more stable and to avoid problems in the future and be capable of having even more players, like limitless, if it would work out. So if you see like sometimes you try to log in and it tells you log in not possible, or please log in again and everything, then you know, okay, maybe these guys are doing some updates, and just try it again a few minutes later. What you can do is you can join the command center Discord. This is where we are located. And on the updates channel, if we do like deploying updates, or if we have expected downtimes due to some server fixes or tweaks or something, then we announce it there. And you know, oh yeah, okay, so like in a few minutes they deploy a server fix, and then it will be down for a few minutes. So you know what's going on. Uh, yeah, with the server fixed, everybody's very happy with it. We also fixed the DC screen bug. If you followed Dominator's last streams, you can see that he was very happy with it, how stable everything now runs, and how smooth and flawless everything was, and no more crashes, no more issues, and he was very happy with it. And so, yeah, that's a good thing. And one thing that I also want to discuss with you today is another thing that we tackled, and this is higher latency, especially when you play with people that have like that are located far away from you. For example, in my example today, I choose Kiltol because he's from Australia. I'm from Europe, and I run a few tests with him, and we made tweaks to the server and tested again with him. So thanks to Kiltol for his time and his help. And yeah, I give you a small conclusion today and show you what this means for you and why this is a very good thing. So if you played on Generals Online and you played with Kiltol, for example, and you pressed F10, you can see like your real latency, like the latency that gets reported directly by the netcode itself. And you could see like you had 300 milliseconds, let's say, or 350. And if you played over Radmin, like you used Generals Online, but you played on Radmin via the network mode, then you had a lower latency compared to what Generals Online gave you with a direct connection. And it was that worse that, like, for example, Kiltol played tournaments over Radmin because otherwise he would have 800 or 700 milliseconds latency, and on Radmin it was like 350 or maybe 400 or something like this. So you had like double the latency or close to it. And this for sure is not acceptable, and we made some tweaks to it. The thing is, the game uses a system called run ahead. So if you have 300 milliseconds latency, then the game runs ahead 350 milliseconds. So you don't have to wait for datas. Otherwise, you would constantly wait for datas and the game would just stutter. So the game is allowed to run a bit ahead and just goes on while it receives messages from other players. Let's describe it like this. I know that maybe Xezon will now sit in front of his computer and say, oh my God, he's telling it that easy and it's way more complicated. Yes, it is, I know. But I think we should talk here in a language that everybody's able to understand. So, and if it's just that they understand why an issue can happen or why high latency can happen and what we did to solve it. So, if I played with Kiltol, a 1v1, for example, I had 600, sometimes 700 milliseconds latency to him. In best case, 550. And if we pressed F10, we could see that the latency was 300, 350 in this range all the time. And then they go to Redmond yesterday and played a tournament. And I show you what happened there because it's very interesting. This is Kiltal's stream from yesterday. He's playing with Dominator and with Xcal and with Thumbstep. There are Xcal and Domi are located in the UK. Thumbstep is, I think, located in the Baltic states, and Kiltal, as said, he's located in Australia. So we started, and you can see in the overlay, top left, that they are on 352 milliseconds, with going up to 400-ish milliseconds, 400 flat sometimes. 352, 380. So this was the range they played on all the time. And if you now look closer, you can see it says L60 slowed. This means we are on 60 hertz mode, 60 hertz logical tick rate, and the game is responding that it is slowed. And this means the game is not able to do 60 FPS. This can happen if one of the players in game is not able to make 60 frames with his computer. So his computer cannot keep up. This is one reason this could happen. And the other reason is very interesting, and this is what happened right here. The real latency they are playing on is higher than the latency they have now displayed in the top left. Because in the top left, it is displayed on what run ahead they are. They are on 11 frames run ahead in gentle measurement, 22 in 60 hertz. And this is equal to 350 milliseconds, 352 milliseconds. And this leads to a slowdown. So I told you that I have to kill tall 350-ish ms latency, milliseconds, and it's sometimes like up to 400. It's mostly like, let's say, 350. The from 300 to 400, it's a bit fluctuating because this can happen on such a big distance that we have. So mostly it's like 350-ish milliseconds. And they are operating now on this limit. So they are operating on the edge. And I know that Dominator and Xcal are located in the UK. They will have the same latency that I have to kill Toll, if not a bit more, because they are a few kilometers more away, a few hundred. It's on a global scale, it's not much, but it will cause like, I don't know, 10 or 20 additional milliseconds latency. So the real latency they have is at best case 350 milliseconds, more likely to be 400. But the game running on 352 milliseconds right now means that the game waits for data. So they are operating at a run ahead of 352 milliseconds, and the game then has to wait for data, for packages that come over the network to all players. And this leads to the game slowing down. So they are on 60 hertz mode, but in reality, they're operating on, let's say, 57 or 58 frames per second, logical tick rate. This is not much of a difference. You cannot notice it with your own eye because they all have a very stable connection, and it will not be hopping a lot. And because of that, it looks flawless. Because missing, let's say, 2 frames, this is 32 milliseconds only. If you lose this over a complete second, your eye will not notice this. So it was fine for them, but you can already see that the 35 milliseconds here, they don't fit. They would need like 384 or better 400 milliseconds latency to fit it. And yeah, this is exactly what we did then. We tweaked some features of the netcode, and we did some server tweaks and everything. And the calculation, like how we calculate what run ahead we use compared to the real latency, has changed. And I can tell you that we make big, big, big progress. Before I had like 600 milliseconds with kill toll in game, and this is what we have now. You can see with a F10 overlay, if I press F10, I get additional informations. You see here latency is 299, so 300 milliseconds flat. And it jumped up to 340, 360 sometimes. Then it got down to 300 again. So let's say 350-ish is like what you have to take if you want to calculate your run ahead. Now when we calculate that we are on 350 milliseconds is like the average latency that Kiltol and I have. Then you have to add a small buffer because you see here NAC is not acknowledged. So it can happen that a few packages get lost because from Australia, all data that I receive from him goes through the whole Pacific Ocean, goes through the whole Indian continent, goes through the whole Mediterranean Sea, and then through whole Europe. So it is not surprising that some packages can get lost, and that latency is fluctuating and can reach like 400 milliseconds sometimes. And yeah, we recalculated everything, and as you can see here now, Kiltal and I yesterday had in our test 416 milliseconds, and it got down to 384 milliseconds sometimes. So we get between 384 and 416 milliseconds for Kiltal and me. And this is a very healthy run ahead now. So we dropped the latency about 200 milliseconds because before it was way too high. This was the reason why, for example, Kiltor played these tournaments then over Radmin. You saw, like I explained to you, why Radmin goes too deep, and you saw that it causes slowdowns. And if there would have been a connection in this tournament that was not perfect, then they would have stutters, they would have freezes, they would have slowdowns. And everything like this you do not want to have. So the run ahead needs to be higher than the actual latency. And this is what we are doing now on Generals Online. You have a healthy latency, a stable latency, and I hope that we not get into the situation where it's too low and where it stutters or slows down. But yeah, we don't want to see four out of let's say 350 real latency. We don't want to see 600 milliseconds anymore. It was even that bad that sometimes Dominator or Killtall, if they played with people that are located far away, they had like 1,000 milliseconds latency. But there was nobody that had real package loss. It was just the calculation was had too big of a buffer, and this is solved. And yeah, I'm looking very forward to the next games and the next weeks. We have a very stable connection now. We have a new calculated run ahead, which should give you more responsible units and a better gameplay. And yeah, if you have like stutters or slowdowns, then please press F10, make a screenshot and send it to us, and then we look into it if you have trouble. But we think that we are now in a very good situation, and I'm very happy about it. So this is a very healthy latency for this kind of a conditions, and I think it should be for everybody like this now. If not, tell us and we can like adjust a bit again. But yeah, our dev did good work there. Our testing team did brilliant work there, and as I said before, server crashes fixed and some other issue like the C screen bug fixed. We are overall now in a way more stable place compared to last week. And not only this, we now try or already did find more performance when it comes to latency. And yeah, I hope you're already that you all are very happy with it, and that you have fun playing Generals Online. And I can see on the player counts that I think you have a good experience now. And yeah, let's hope it stays like this. And yeah, see you next time.